What's up? It's Jen Brown. Welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. So today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of my scrap yarn crochet projects. If you missed part 1, I will stick it up above and also put the link down below in the description. So I've got 3 more projects for you this time. We're doing a braided scarf, we're doing a blanket that is really easy to make out of scraps, and another reusable grocery bag, but this one is going to be rectangular, so it's really good to fit boxes. So let's go ahead and get started with the scarf. Okay, so for the scarf, we're going to start out by making each individual strand that we're going to braid. You could do just 3 of these if you wanted, or if you want it to be thicker, you could move up. We're going to do 5, but you can move up to 7 or maybe even 9. I've never tried it that much, but we're going to start by chaining about 175. If you want this to be a more dramatic infinity scarf that could wrap around 3 times or just hang a little bit longer, obviously you'll want to do it a little bit longer than that, but to start out I'm going to chain 175. So once we've got our chain, you're going to chain 3, or 3 more, I should say. Then you're just going to double crochet all the way down the line. You're going to do that for all 5 of your strands. You could make these multiple rows as well if you wanted them a little bit thicker. Then you're going to gather up the ends of all 5 of your strands. You want them obviously to be as close to the same length as possible, but if a couple end up being a little bit longer because your gauge was thrown off, or if you're using different textures of yarn like I did, that's okay. We can kind of hide that later. Just to make this a little bit easier to work with at the start, I'm just taking my string ends and tying these loosely together at the start. This can be a little weird to work with at first, just because everything's so flimsy, but once you get the braid actually going, it's a little bit easier to handle. But I'm just going to start weaving these together back and forth. The first couple times I tried this, the process of braiding with 5 was kind of confusing for me at first. I think for the first half of this one, I was just kind of like weaving them at random. You can kind of think of it as French braiding, or just working with 3 strands at a time and alternating back and forth, but it's really quick to kind of undo it if you mess it up, just until you kind of get the hang of it. So now that I'm finished, you can see I've got all my ends together here, and you can do this with like a yarn needle, but I always just kind of weave a piece of yarn through using my crochet hook. But I'm just weaving this back and forth through all the strips so that I can hold them together at the end. And I'm just threading this piece of yarn through so that I can tie it off. Now I'll do the same thing again to tie both my ends together. And I can really easily just kind of weave the extra pieces of thread through and tuck those extra lengths of the strands. They can kind of be woven back into the scarf to kind of hide those. So for this second one, we're making what I've just been calling a scraps blanket. I've done this once before, kind of over the summer. I saw this like rainbow stripe actually knit pattern, and I thought it might be kind of cool just whenever I'm working on a project, if I have a little bit of scraps left, to just add it onto a blanket and have it kind of be a long-term project. So I'll show you how to get this started, and then I'll show you how this would look when it's finished. So to start, you're just gonna basically make like a rectangle shape for the foundation of this. So I've chained 5, and then I chained an extra 3, and I'm just double crocheting a few rows until I get the shape that I like. So now I have these 3 rows. I have a nice little rectangle shape for the base of my blanket. Now, instead of, I'm still going to chain 3 because I'm just going to keep double crocheting. Obviously you could change up your stitch, but this is just the easiest way for me. But instead of going back across the row like normal, we're going to start stitching around the whole thing. So I'm going to chain 3 and then go across the vertical side of this. Now when I get to the corner, I'm going to treat this like I was making a granny square. We want to make sure we have enough space for that corner. So I'm actually going to chain 2 so that I have that open corner there. Otherwise my corners will start to curl up, and we don't want that. So now I'm going to go across the bottom, get to my corner, chain 2, and start going up the other side. So you're just going to repeat this until you're done with that yarn. So now I'm going to switch colors. I know there's a few different ways for tying things off. I usually just tie a knot like this, and I actually leave that tail on so that it's easier to weave your ends in. Sometimes I kind of weave the ends in as I go if I feel like it or if it's convenient, but usually what I do is when I'm done with a project, I go back and weave all the ends in again. And I would just keep going around and around, adding whatever color I had a little bit of or a lot of bit of, depending. Sometimes I might save some that I have if the 2 colors clash, but I don't know, I think it was kind of fun to just kind of go with whatever I had. So I think that's pretty easy. It's really easy to like customize or change up. You wouldn't even have to go in rounds if you didn't want to. You could still just go straight across and still have it be a scraps blanket. But this has been kind of like my new favorite thing for when I'm in the mood to crochet something, but I don't really have any other ideas. So for the last project, I wanted to make another reusable grocery bag. These are more square, so they're better for boxes, whether it's cereal or pasta or just anything that comes in a box. Sometimes those are hard to fit into those like sack-shaped ones that don't have corners on them. So this pattern that I made will fit 2 boxes of cereal. I kind of used that while I was measuring this out. The measurements are roughly 6 by 9 inches for the base, and 13 by 6 or 13 by 9 for all the sides, but it's really up to you as far as what you want to be able to fit in this when you're finished. So I started by chaining 25. This is for the bottom piece. Then I've chained my extra 3, and I'm going to double crochet all the way across. And I'll just continue that until I've reached 16 rows of double crochet. So then for the shorter side pieces, those are each 25 stitches by 22 rows. And for the front and back sides, I chained 40 for each of those, and they're also 22 rows tall. So now that I have all my pieces, I'm ready to make the straps. So these, again, obviously you can customize them in a few different ways, starting with the length, but the length that I like to kind of just hang on my shoulder is 80 chains. So I've chained 80. Then I want these straps, just for a little bit more support, I wanted them to be wider where they're closer to the bag. So once I've chained 80, I'm actually going to chain an extra 4, and we're going to triple crochet for the first 5 stitches. Your chain 4 counts as the first, so you're going to triple crochet in the next 5 chains for a total of 6 triple crochets. Then we're going to double crochet all the way across, leaving the last 6 stitches, and those will be 6 more triple crochets. Then you're going to chain 2 and turn. Then I'm going to do a single crochet all the way across. Chain 4 and repeat the first row. I'm going to use that chain 4 as my first triple crochet, then triple crochet in the next 5 stitches, double crochet all the way across except for the last 6, and triple crochet in the last 6 stitches. So this kind of has like a little bit of a widening effect at the bottom of the strap, so it has a little more support, like I said, closer to the bag. Again, you could change the shape of that. You could just make it generally wider. You could triple crochet a little bit further up the strap so that that wider point is a little bit larger. And then just because I'm going with this kind of color block effect, I have one blue strap and one brown strap. So now all that's left is to put our bag together. So basically what's going to give us this square corner effect for this bag is we're going to be single crocheting over all the seams, and we're not going to be turning the bag inside out. So you can start with any of the edges you want. The easiest way for me to do it is to put all the sides together first and then just stitch the bottom onto that as a whole, but if you want to do it any which way you can. But all we're going to do is make our little loop, slip stitch that into the first stitch of each of the sides, and then single crochet all the way across. So I'm going to do that, single crochet all the way up the sides for all 4 sides of the bag. Then I will go ahead and stitch the bottom all the way around. Then to add the straps, I said this in my previous video, but there are many ways that you could add straps to this. Again, you could just stitch it on with a needle or weave the string through like I did with the scarf. For this, I just chose to do the same thing and single crochet that through. I always kind of feel like actually crocheting 2 things together versus just weaving a piece of yarn through to kind of sew it together just feels like it's a stronger hold. So I'm just slip stitching this, actually, not single crocheting, but I'm slip stitching all the way across each of the straps for this. Then all that's left is to knot off and cut off the ends. So there you go, 3 more scrap yarn crochet projects for you. I just want to say, if you have watched the first one, thank you so much. Whether you're new here or you've been here before, as you can probably tell, I am a teeny tiny minuscule channel, so the fact that the part 1 of this recently reached 2,000 views is like a major deal for me. So if you watched that one, thank you so much. That's a really big deal, and that means a lot. So I really appreciate that. But I hope you enjoyed this one as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.